Good afternoon, regular session of Nogales Housing Authority Board of Commissioners meeting 4 p.m. Wednesday, April 5th, 2023, City Hall Complex, City Council Chambers. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Call this meeting over. Vicky?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any call to the public, Leslie? Okay, thank you. Item 4, discussion items. Number 1, update on Nogales Housing Authority's corrective action plan. Go ahead, Mr. Kissinger.
Ms. Becky? Mr. Mayor, I handed out several documents for everybody, so if I can go over those real quick. We have this document here that has some red on it. That's Martha's assessment of the Housing Authority. And then I also handed out a large spreadsheet that looks like this. This is the action plan on some of the items that were found that were deficient. I also handed out manila folder, I think that's the right term for it, with the 23-24 budget that will be presented in front of the commissioners on the meeting of April 20th at 4 p.m. And I also handed out the documents of trust that we were able to locate and send to the auditor. It's the second item on the agenda, Mr. Mayor. So those are the items. And so Martha asked us to have these documents brought to you for this meeting, for your review. She was unable to participate in a public meeting, but she did indicate that she would be more than willing to meet with each one of the commissioners individually and privately. Whenever you schedule it with it.
Okay, so these points that Martha brought out, all the red are the ones that we have worked on or have sent her?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
We're currently working on or have already sent her and taken care of. And like I said, I got this at about 11 o'clock this morning. I haven't had the luxury to really dive into this and meet with staff to go over it with Mr. Dickey and just go over it and see what the plan is. But there's nothing on either one of these documents that isn't insurmountable, and we should be able to knock it out very quickly.
Okay, and just for council or commissioners to know, we have submitted our action plan that I signed off on Monday, correct?
So you signed off on some paperwork on Monday, and we have submitted it, and it's been accepted. So that's been done. There's another action plan that we're working on, and we should be bringing that to you, I believe sometime in June is when that is due. So we need to make sure that we produce that action plan, present it to the resident advisory board, and then post it in the newspaper for 45 days, and then bring it to this board for approval. We anticipate having that done by June.
And that is the 23, 28? 27? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Mr.
John, on the governance, it says new leadership. If we took that training before, do we have to retake it again?
Great question, Mr. Commissioner. I don't know the answers to that. But I can definitely find out for you if you need to retake this training.
And that's
And I'll
online,
find
right?
out for that.
That's online.
Yeah, it's online. And my,
'Cause I think some of us already took it, I think.
Sure.
Ms. Lopez, you didn't take it?
I've taken it.
Yeah,
I've took it when I was a councilman.
how about if I do the
sure.
commissioners the following? I'll get you a list of who needs it and who doesn't need it. Unfortunately, it doesn't say that on the action plan. It just says you need to take it. But we'll drill down on that a little bit more for you all.
And one more question, and on the second one where it says roles and responsibilities, the board is not engaged in a decision-making, policy development, oversight of the PHS operation. Board participation is lacking in the execution of PHA programs and monitoring director performance. This is a little conflicting because we're city councilmen and council members, and we cannot interact with the directors or working personnel. I don't know if it's going to make any difference with the housing authority.
It's another great question. I didn't author this work plan, Mr. Commissioner, but I'll definitely bring that up with Martha, who authored it, and I'll try to drill down on that dilemma also and how you can become more engaged and still sit on the council. So we'll get those answers for you.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Gradias.
There was a notice of a meeting, public hearing set for today at 3 p.m. that nobody followed through on it, which marked the 45 days of the reading of the initial plan. We missed that. Director Thompson expressed it at the last meeting that it was set, but I guess it fell through the cracks. There's a civil rights certification. Was that signed?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it signed in violation of that meeting? Were you directed by Martha to sign it, rubber stamp it, or not? Because my understanding is we had to do the meeting before we could sign that civil rights certification. Was that done properly?
No. The civil rights plan that we signed was for the previous 5-year plan that we just submitted for her,
Not the new one.
not the new one, okay?
But we
So-
signed it 5 years later, or?
I'm not sure, Councilman, did we already have the 45 days on the plan that we submitted to Martha? Yeah, Councilman, I don't know.
Can we look into that? Because I think we legally signed that document
Sure.
because the 45 days expired today and the meeting was set for 3 and nobody followed up on that. So I want to make sure we clear that up. The plan that was submitted, I didn't receive a copy, so I don't know what was submitted. So as a commissioner, I would really have liked to have seen it before it went out because we're a commission, not a dictatorship. So if we're all going to get involved, we're all going to get the training, let's get involved.
Right.
And I know that our commission is short 2 people, so we got to look to move to add those 2 people.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bonilla.
Mr. Kissinger, Mr. Bojorquez pointed out, on here it says roles and responsibilities. The board is not engaged in the decision-making, policy development, and oversight of the PHS operations. But then it says board participation is lacking in the execution of PHS programs and monitoring director performance. It's kind of like an oxymoron at this point. It's saying that we shouldn't get involved, but then it's saying, well, we should, engage the director. So which one is it?
Yeah, so I would suggest that you reach out to the author of the action plan, and I can definitely provide you with her number, and you could talk to her and get explanations on these correction plan.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gradias.
I think by charter and statute, we are not authorized to reach out to anybody. So we direct the city manager or acting city manager in the near future to do that for us and get us the information. I think that's the correct route to take.
Do you have any knowledge on that, Mr. Dickish?
I do not, but it just takes a quick phone call to Marta to find out exactly what it is she's talking about on that item. Like John said, we just got that this morning, haven't really had time to dissect it. kind of the same with you guys. You got it, I think, just recently. So we can just give her a call and see what it is she's really talking about there. And there might be a couple more items on that list that council has questions with.
There's 7 pages, over 42 items. So, and I got this at 11.
Go ahead, Mr. Reyes.
Also, in going through these documents, I know we have a lot of documents, but we got that report that we are failing because we did not submit the audit. In November 1822, we had the same assessment. We scored a 21 on that same issue that she's giving us a 0 now for missing an audit. I don't know if it's relevant that it's just one thing and we all knew there was an audit missing, so why are we being penalized so much? Again, I have a letter that was sent to the Honorable Marsha Fudge, the Secretary of Housing, on behalf of over 3,000 PHAs in the country. So obviously ours is not the only failing PHA. So there's issues in the system, not our public housing department here in Nogales. I want to make sure we're clear on that. It's not an isolated issue and it's not one person that's responsible for this. It's an issue across the country that I hopefully Secretary Fudge pays attention to the pleas by all these PHAs and we can move forward with a simpler plan. We have the money, we're lacking personnel, I know that, but I think they have the direction. They're handcuffed in what they can do because of these reporting statistics. So that's one thing we got to clear up.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioners, the one time that I went up to Martha was after we had the last email from her. I went to our city manager, and the director of HUD, Ms. Alfonso, approved the meeting, and they actually were the ones that set it up. And that's the only discussion that I've had with director, and which is Ms. Charon Alfonso, and then with Martha present. And that was, you could say authorized by them and authorized by our city manager.
I totally agree. Your heart's in the right place, but there are actions in place or bylaws that we must adhere. So that meeting should have been handled by the city manager or somebody that has authority to act on executive decisions of the city or the PHA, and the PHA falls under, it's a department of the city. So that's my only grievance with that.
I understand, Mr. Gradias, and like I said, it was set through our city manager, and being that I was present in Phoenix, that's why I went ahead and with their authorization and the authorization of our city manager, that meeting took place. Not again. I'm a new kid in the block, first time as mayor, and I thought it basically went through the whole channels and got the authorization to move forward. I think there's no better person than the director of HUD to give me the authority, or that they know the rules and regulations, and that's how we went about it. Go ahead, Commissioner Bojorquez.
Yes, touching back on that, again, it's a conflict. Mayor Maldonado is the commissioner, and he's acting as the commissioner of the board. I don't know if his role and responsibilities as a mayor are any different than as a commissioner. So we need to clarify that with HUD. If he's a commissioner, is he the one that's going to represent the board and the housing authority, or is he going to just take the role of the mayor and go and follow the process of the city charter?
Anybody else? Commissioner Doyle.
I guess what I'd like to kind of be brought up to date, are we talking about right now going forward, or are we talking about the last couple of months when we had a director and we weren't brought up to par, I guess? Wasn't it the director's responsibility also to bring us into the picture and explain the situation that was going on? Instead, I remember the last time, he kind of said everything was going smooth. In other words, things. And so I guess I'm a little bewildered here that it seems like now the commissioners are more on the spot than this situation that was aggravated before we even took office. If I could be brought up on that a little, I'd like to know.
I think this is an ongoing issue. It's nothing new. We're just trying to fix everything at once, which it was being piecemealed, is my understanding, but it was being worked on. So what we're trying to do now, we reached out to HUD and they provided guidance, which is this Bible, which we can't act anything on this because we need to review this. We just got it right before the meeting. But now we can set the sails right so that you can start sailing in a correct direction so we can fix all the problems. So we're also dealing with issues that have been hanging on. And I got a question for Mr. Dickey. Are you aware of how the housing department should be run as part of, is it a standalone or does it fall under the city charter as just another department of the city? And did you give direction to authorize this meeting, or did you have authority to authorize this meeting instead of you attending this meeting with the mayor?
First question, my understanding is that the council wanted this department to be followed and managed like any other department. So it does follow under the charter as far as being ran as a department, a city department. The director reports to the city manager, not the commission. The council made that decision at one time. And if we want to find that order, we can find that. Because that was asked one time and you have it. Okay, so am I right? Okay, that's good. And then the other question is, the mayor did call me and, well, we got the letter. And so there was some concern with the letter that we all saw. And the mayor happened to be up in Phoenix and he gave me a call and said, I plan on meeting with Marta. So I'm going to meet with her up here today. And I said, that's fine. You're up there. If you guys are going to meet, that'd be good. And that's about the gist of it.
But as the city manager, did you see an urgency to meet with her, or did you already have it planned? Was it something that couldn't wait and we had to do it right away?
No, I think the mayor took advantage of the opportunity because he was up there at the time for another. He didn't go up there just for this meeting, right? He was up there already and this came about and he took advantage of it. We have been talking, and so there's a little confusion and a lot here. We've been talking with Marta, John and I, and the past director with these issues. And Robert was very clear in what the issues were and that. So we were talking, we thought we had a good road plan and stuff. But when we got the last one, it just seemed a little more urgency. The mayor felt like he when he was up there, that he should meet with them. And he was lucky enough to get her director or her supervisor to come to the meeting also. And then there was a little bit of follow-up on our end. Honestly, I just think at that time, the mayor took advantage of the situation to be up there and meet with her personally. I followed up with her, I think the next day. I think it was very soon after, to get brought up to speed and kind of what's going on and what we need to do. Since then, we talked to her a couple times. In fact, I think it was just yesterday or the day before, we spent a couple hours on the phone with her. And I still don't know much about HUD. But anyway, and I know these two they speak with her 2, maybe 3 times a week. So we, as far as within our capability and with our staff, and we are short, very short. We're going to be interviewing someone, I think, next week and try to get them on board as soon as possible, which will help them immensely. I think they're doing a great job, and I think we're headed in the right direction. I really, once again, things like this with the mayor meeting with someone, there's got to be some kind of understanding between myself and the mayor, or if the council members up there, but everyone should be kept in the loop as far as, hey, I'm taking advantage of this meeting. Maybe a text should have gone out to the rest of the commissioners. Probably I could have done that. The mayor could have done that. That's something we did not do at the time because it was so new and fresh. We're trying to navigate through this situation. But that probably looking back, text just, hey guys, regarding that email, because we all got it. The mayor just happens to be in Phoenix. He's going to spend some time with Marta to kind of find out what exactly where we're at. And then, like I said, I followed up the next day to kind of see what was discussed and where we were at.
I agree totally 100% with the mayor being there taking advantage, but the situation was not followed properly according to the guidelines of our city charter and the bylaws of the housing department. So I want to make sure that this doesn't happen again and that we're all on the same page. I mean, we all have the heart in the right place and we want to make this fruitful and go forward the right way, but let's do it the right way. I've always been a stickler for let's do it the right way and move on from there. And I totally agree taking advantage. If I was in the situation, probably might have done the same thing, but knowing what I know is we have to do certain steps before we do that, because we're governed by the city charter.
Commissioner Bojorquez.
Yes, according to HUD, the commission is the one that overlooks the housing authority. So at the end of the day, any problems that arise and are something going wrong with the housing authority, the buck stops here. They come to the commissioners. They don't come to the city manager. They all our responsibility is upon the commissioners of the housing authority. And I don't know, I'm glad Mr. Machado is here. I don't know if the housing authority is on the city charter as a department of the city. Is it?
It's not under the city charter, but the operation of the commission is just like that of the council. Nobody on the council has any individual right to do anything. It has to act as a board. And then as a whole board, as a commission, as a body, they've appointed, or they will appoint the Nogales Housing Authority director, and then that person is in charge of Nogales Housing Authority. The director, under the charter and under our city code, is under the city manager. So under the city code and under the manager, in the absence of the director, then it's the city manager who acts as the director.
I have a question, Mr. Machado. So if I would call Mr. Dickey and I would tell Mr. Dickey, I'm up here in Phoenix, whatever, I want to take advantage. Can I speak with the HUD director? Would I be able to do that too?
Can I speak to who?
To the HUD director?
I mean, nobody can prohibit or limit what you're going to do as either council or commission members. You can do that. But the only danger in meeting with other people like that is you have to make very sure that they understand that you're meeting as an individual without any specific authority to bind the commission or bind the city or anything like that. So it's, yes, you can meet. Nobody can say you cannot meet. But as far as binding the city or the commission, then that's a different matter.
Interesting.
And again, the meeting was to find out where we stand, to find out, our situation. I never took any directions, never gave any directions. I just followed, gave all the information to Mr. Dickey, the city manager, and basically with the information, he even had some doubts and called directly to clarify what they told me and what they told Commissioner Bojorquez, because he was on the call. I put him on the call because he's got the housing experience and all the information that was given to us was transparent and given to our city manager, and then he addressed everything.
I just have one, it's actually a comment, Chairman, what Mr. Commissioner Doyle said. I do remember that a few times Director Thompson briefed us on the current situation, right, Mr. Gardias? Of what was happening, of what was going to happen on the audit. And if I remember, if I may direct Mr. Dickey to Mr. Hawkins and Terry, you guys were here at these meetings, and he did brief us on what the current situation was. And I remember that he did inform us that this is the direction that it was going. It was not going in a good direction. But he explained it not once, but I think more than twice. So I don't know why all of a sudden this was a bomb. This was, we were briefed as commissioners by Mr. Thompson, not once, not twice, but a few times. And I understand that there were some council members or a council member that wasn't here. But regardless, most of us were. And so we were briefed. Am I correct in that assessment, Mr. Hawkins and Terry? Yes, Mr. Thompson did brief us a few times on this issue. So I don't know why all of a sudden this became, oh my God, this landed on us. We didn't know. We did know. We didn't know where we stood, what was coming at us. So I just wanted to clarify that we were briefed by Mr. Thompson, not once, not twice, but a few times. As a matter of fact, that's why I'm asking, because you were present at most of the meetings. But Mr. Thompson did brief us at one point. So that's my comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Gradius.
One last question. I'm going to put you on the spot, Mr. Dickey, and it's a yes and no answer, and that's all I need. Was ex-Director Thompson in your office the date and time when that call came from the mayor from Phoenix, when he had just met with the secretary, or Ms. Duron? Just a yes and no. Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this update on the Housing Authority's correction plan has been submitted. Joe, there were some questions by Commissioner Gradias on the 45-day term. Would you guys look into that?
Yes, sir, we'll look into that, the 5-year plan that she just approved, the one we just submitted, right?
I do know
Commissioner, I can be honest with you, I don't know if we had a 45-day waiting period if we went through all the steps. I know we're working on the next plan to get it forward.
My main concern is the civil rights certification.
I was just happy that this plan came off of our
I
bad boy
agree,
list.
and I'd like to have a copy of it too, because we don't have a copy.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so,
We'll get
again,
copies of it.
this plan was urgently directed by Martha, which is the voice of HUD, to us, the commissioners and the city. And, we just followed her lead as to having and needing it to turn in ASAP. Both Terry and Martin worked on it very hard to get it accomplished and done. And, basically, I understand your concern, Mr. Garcia, but, as far as I know, we did it under their instructions, and, I myself was not aware of the deadline of the 45 days at the 3 o'clock today. but I know all the instructions came about directly from Martha. Go ahead, sir.
Question for Mr. Machado.
Go ahead.
Does the commission have the right or authority to hold emergency meetings?
Yes,
We could do that at any time to
Sure.
discuss signing
As
an action
required.
plan or something like that?
yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bojorquez.
Just a correction on the civil rights form, that's 275 days before the end of the year. 45 days is for the advertisement of the plan and the budget.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other discussion? Mr. Doyle?
One question. There it is. Thank you. One question, as far as the revenue lost on falling behind the last few months. Will this plan bring us up to date and there will be no more revenue loss? Or are we, what is Mrs. Duron talked about as far as that issue? Because it affects our revenue.
Do you guys have the answer for that one?
Yes, sir. So we were late on encumbering some funds, and you guys gotta help me. I'm not gonna be 100% on this because I don't live over there. But we're late on encumbering some funds, and we were able to get those encumbrances to her. So what happens is on next year's, which fund is it? Capital?
2024,
2020, but what's the name of the fund? Capital and
capital,
capital, okay?
capital action.
The capital action funds will be reduced by 1/12 of what we would have gotten. However, it is more than what we got last year. So if you look at it, it's all how you want to term it, Mr. Doyle. We're getting more money than we got last year, right? But we've gotten 1/12 less than we could have got if we would have encumbered those funds 1 month earlier. Okay, so that's the penalty, is that the following year budget is 1/12 less. So the statement, did we lose funds? I can explain it that we're going to get 1/12 less than we would have gotten. However, the funding is more than we got last year. So it's how you would like to
Well,
characterize it.
I like clear numbers, like how much money was lost?
What's 1/12? Mr. Dickey, do you know what the 1/12 was? Do you guys know what the 1/12 was? I can get that number for you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Grady, yes.
Mr. Bojorquez just brought up that it's 75 days. We signed that civil rights certification 45 days without having a public hearing, so that's a violation. So now we got to wait 35, 40 days, whatever it is, to get to 75 before we could have signed it. Yet you got direction from Ms. Duron to just go ahead and sign it. Aren't we violating their own rules at her direction? They just want us to rubber stamp things and get things through, so she won't look bad, I'm assuming.
I can't answer that, Mr. Reyes. All I know is, it was directions directly from HUD, and that's what we followed. I understand your.
Then again, why are we following their direction if they have guidelines and we have a charter? Who supersedes who? Maybe it's a legal question, but we got to clear all this up moving forward, is all I'm saying.
My word would say, HUD is the one that's going to say yay or nay. We don't oversee them; they oversee us. What did you say that?
I'm sure Ms. Duron has a pause, so we need to go higher, or even to the secretary of HUD.
Well, we can always appeal any of the decisions they make, and they're not final in that respect. But it's been my experience, and the people who have dealt with HUD for many years, they can be pretty difficult to deal with. And they can tell you one thing one day, and then the next day they're going to tell you another thing.
and you violated something because of something that you did that they told you to do. It's a moving target, and that's the unfairness of this whole thing. I don't know any of the details of Mr. Thompson or anything, but keep in mind that it's a moving target, and I don't care what HUD says, I'm telling you that that's a moving target. And my best advice is comply as much as we can with what they say, and we can support in written documentation that they said to do, because bottom line is they fund the services that we provide for our constituents. So sometimes we just have to bear and grin and bear it.
I have a question for Chairman, for Mr. Machado.
Commissioner Bonilla.
How much are you involved, Mr. Machado? Let's say what the chairman signed off already. Do you at all review these documents before they're signed or approved, or how much are you involved in the whole housing issue?
I'm as involved as I'm requested to be involved. If there is a question regarding a document or the understanding of a document or anything connection to the document, NHA has been very good at coming to me and getting clarification, but it's run very well on their own. They're pretty good at signing what they need to sign without my review unless it's necessary.
Well, and the reason I ask is what Commissioner Garcia's brought up, the 45 days, and now it's like, I guess, 75 days. So my question to you, Mr. Machado, had you reviewed these documents, would you think we were having this issue right now? Do you think you would have caught it?
I can't tell. I can't. I don't know. But it's not a matter of them catching it or somebody not catching it. So on. Like I said, HUD's a moving target.
I understand.
They'll tell you 45 today, and then tomorrow looks like 75.
I know it's pretty hard, and I feel for the housing, because I do understand that it is a moving target. But again, because it is a moving target, I would at least at this point, Chairman, I would involve our city attorney a little bit more on these documents that need to be signed off, because you just said it. They come back and say, "Well, why did you sign it?" Well, because you told me. So it's one of those things that's kind of odd,
You signed it because they told me. It's just if the problem with it, they'll send written instructions and they'll say to do this, and then you do it, and then you didn't do it right. Well, you told me to do it this way. Well, no, I meant this way. Okay.
But at the end of the day, we're the ones who get penalized.
That's not going to change if I review it. But I mean, that's my job. I will review it. The more you want me involved, the more I'll be involved. That's not a problem at all. And I think they have involved me when they thought it was necessary.
Because I don't. In all fairness, I wouldn't like to see our employees or any director going through this issue when we do have a city attorney that could alleviate some of these questions or uncomfortable questions sometimes. Even though it is a moving target, I understand that. But I think that if we have the backup of a city attorney with some of these housing issues, I think it'll serve us best. And that's just my opinion.
Or at minimum, you can have the city attorney as the fall guy, right?
Commissioner Doyle. Commissioner Doyle.
Yes, Chairman, what I gathered in the last couple of months was that it seemed like Mrs. Zudon had given us fair warning of the things that were going there. And now my question is, did she give us enough time to react, considering that her complaint was against the director? And, is it feasible for us, the city of Nogales, to, get in a quarrel with her or try to have a better working relationship? And And if we need to see somebody above her, well, that's, again, I think that should be a decision that the commission makes. But I wouldn't like to see her feeling that we're trying to throw her under the bus or not wanting to work with her. So along those lines, and like Commissioner Gradia said, we need to get to the point of things, but probably using a little more, better approach, I guess.
I agree, Councilman. I do. I mean, don't think what I'm saying about HUD as I think that it's a good idea to pick a fight with HUD. We don't want to do that. And we'll do whatever we have to do to ensure that we have the continued funding for a service that I think everybody knows that we want here and good for Nogales. We will do whatever we have to do as far as I'm not going to pick a fight with her, but I'm just pointing out that sometimes it's difficult to work with.
I think what I see is not that we were at fault really as commissioners, but I guess we either, well, because of the director's lack of meeting those requirements, I guess she probably holds it against the commission that we weren't doing our due diligence with the director. But we have to deal with him through the city manager, right?
Well, through the director.
We don't go to the director. Well, when he's here, we can deal with the director.
Right. But yes,
Okay.
with the staff, yes.
Okay, so as a commission, we deal with him directly.
Yeah, but I would hope that she's been around, Ms. Duron's been around a long time. I don't think she's holding the commission
Good.
responsible, and so we'll fix it. I mean,
So we should have a good base for a good working relationship.
sure.
Okay.
Commissioner Gradius.
I just want a clarification. Mr. Doyle pointed out that the letter was directed as the failure of the director, but all I read is the failure of the system. Could I get some clarification? Did the director, was he not performing his duties to a standard level? Do you have an evaluation that shows he was not? He was what?
He was. He was doing the job as well as he knew how to do. And I think it's a very moving target. That letter that you just brought up, there's 3,000 plus that are having issues or it's not easy. And whoever goes in there, it's not going to be easy. I've had 3 or 4 meetings with Martha, and the mayor's had meetings now and others you've heard. I still don't understand everything, all the components of HUD and the requirements. I'm amazed at these two, and I think they're doing a great job. And that's one of the things, Commissioner Doyle, we have a good relationship. We meet with her every 2 or 3 times a week. These two do. John and I have had probably in the last 3 weeks, probably 2, maybe 3 long conversations with her. I think we're on the right track. Sometimes I wonder if she even knows the track sometimes because it's just so much. So she has someone she goes to get. So we're trying to just have more communication, more collaboration, and try to get these things done. But going back with Robert Thompson, I had the evaluation with him, and I just finished up today with John's evaluation. So everyone's been evaluated now. And it was a good evaluation. There are things that we discussed, obviously, in evaluation that I'm not going to talk publicly about, things, to help him to do better and things that he's doing a great job with. But just like anyone, he was doing a good job.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Commissioner Melendez.
I just have a comment. These problems, they're not new. I've been here for many years, and in the past, there were the same problems that I can recall. Mr. Bojorquez, you know that in the past there were many problems in the housing, and you should know because you were there. So this is nothing new. That's all.
Chairman, Mr.
Go
Dickey,
ahead.
Mr. Dickey, Commissioner Garcia asked you if Mr. Thompson was doing his job correctly, and you said yes, he was. He was doing to the best to his ability. However, on the article of the NI, the chairman said that he wasn't doing his job. So which one is it? Well,
I don't think that's.
you just said,
from me. I'm just telling you
and-
my perception.
Yeah,
and
that's your
my-
perception, and you're the one who deals with
Managing.
personnel, am I correct? So then, if anyone here knows if he wasn't or was not doing his job, it would be you.
Yeah. Just like anyone, there's things,
I
directors,
understand.
all directors have things. to
Everyone,
work on.
everyone,
Gentlemen,
faults.
you know,
So
we're
that-
getting out
I don't
of
really
line.
wanna talk.
You know, I don't think that question is part of the correction plan. I understand it's been brought up, but I don't think that's part of the question or the agenda item.
One last question, that, you know, when, well, the question is, did Mr. Thompson resign or retire?
Yep.
Mr. Dickey,
Want to answer?
Resigned.
he resigned. Okay.
Any other discussion on the corrected action plan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Second item, discussion and possible action in reference to the declaration of trust. I think Mr. Bonilla could put this.
Yeah, I put this on there, and I had questions because I had received just 3 documents, and I had questions for Mr. Kissinger and Mr. Hawkes and Terry. If basically what I need to know is, are declaration of trust updated? Are they up to date completely, or do they need to be updated? Are all our properties, are they on here? Because I didn't receive all these documents until now, so
We're still missing some.
you're missing some, or they're not updated, just the document itself is missing?
Document is one document.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have a document, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, once you have a document of trust, it's filed up at the county recorders, and it's a document of trust. You don't update them and change them or do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's filed, it's done. So it's my understanding that every time that we construct brick and mortar out at the housing, we produce a document of trust with that, and it's filed. The housing goes back quite a few years, if you'll see in your packet there. The auditors, not HUD, not Martha, the auditors were asking for the documents of trust. This is the first time that we recall an auditor ever asking for documents of trust. So staff and everybody else was, to include Mr. Thompson, we're out running around trying to find the documents of trust so we could produce it to the auditors, so the auditors could get the audit and we can get off the bad boys list by putting out the audit. Just today, we were able to find some more documents of trust after spending the good majority of the morning digging through files up at the county courthouse. That's my best explanation I can give you. Those came in again today around 12 o'clock.
So you
I
have-
haven't
you have
had
more
a
than-
chance to compare those to what's really actually out there and get it all together. And I'm not real sure, Commissioner, to be honest with you, what the purpose might be. You know what I mean? The trust is a trust is a
Yeah,
trust.
I understand. No, and I understand, and it's because of the audit and everything. And I don't, maybe Commissioner Bojorquez would know this. What was the last brick and mortar building that we did for housing? Would that be the Americas and the ones in Guerrero? And would that be the last project?
Maybe? Guerrero?
Yes. So is that on one of our trusts then? Would that be on there?
One of them, do you know? It's not.
Okay, well, I would need to, if you can please provide Mr. Kissinger.
Why don't you give us the
That's
opportunity
right,
to
okay.
deal into the issue of documents of trust and find out what's necessary and what's not necessary and what's where or whatever, and then just try to compile a folder, which I think Terry's working on, to put all documents of trust in one place, from as far back as we can go. But we'll definitely be working on that. However, I just want to let the commissioners know, it doesn't seem to be a priority of Martha's. Listen, we're not on the bad boy list here for not having documents of trust, right? It's just a requirement for the auditor to get the auditor out. I was asking Terry, just tell the auditor to put a finding.
Well,
Here's your audit,
with that
there's
said,
no
Mr.
fraud, the money
Well,
spent correctly.
Mr. Kissinger, I'm gonna have to push back on that comment because it may not be a priority to Martha, but it is to me because we are talking about aligning everything from the housing authority. So yes, it is important to me, Mr.
But I meant
Kissinger.
today, that's what I meant.
Commissioner Gradius.
I think we are mistaken here because the declaration of trust is a priority for Martha because the audit is a priority since she gave us a 0 and the auditors request the trust. I briefly saw the documents. They're dated 1989, 1990. So whether we find other ones or not, that should be our task and that should be our number one priority. And if not, then updating our trust because it's been so many years. I think that's the direction we as commissioners should adopt going forward.
That's correct, but let me just add this on the declarations of trust that the auditors have requested this in connection with their audit. If what has been produced is not what they want, they'll let us know. And if it is sufficient, then they'll okay the audit and it'll be okay with HUD. So.
I gave you a copy of the email. It was submitted to both HUD and the auditors today at 2:20.
I just would like to take a moment just to thank Terry and Martin for stepping up and especially during these times. Thank you.
But Commissioner, I just want to let you know that it might not be 100% of every document or trust we need to find.
That's fine if it's
But if we can get what we can get, right?
Commissioner Bojorquez.
Yeah, just to touch up on the Declaration of Trust, I think that's a city and HUD document. I don't think that the PHA is involved in the information, but that document is between the city, right? And HUD, because the land and the properties belong to the city, and HUD is the interested party because they're doing the funding.
I'm sorry, but I didn't hear the first part of the question.
The Declaration of Trust form, that's a form that's submitted by the city.
Yes.
And it's between HUD and the city because the city is the owner of the property
Yes.
and the buildings. And HUD is the interested party because they fund the housing authority.
Yes. That's what it is.
So that would be a city document that you can, I don't know if it's available at the city.
Well, they should all be recorded,
Yeah.
and I guess these were obtained at the recorder's office. Like I said, if these are not the ones that'll satisfy the audit and HUD, then we'll look for some more. We'll see we will do whatever's necessary to satisfy the audit and HUD.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Okay, so basically, if we need more, let's look for, make sure all of our properties have it and, comply with the needs of the auditor. Okay, going to the next item, number 5, future agenda items. Anybody? Commissioner Gradius?
I would just like an update on the status of appointing the 2 other commissioners as required by the last resolution. They need to be people that receive the services of HUD. So if we can get an update as where we're at on that.
Any other future agenda items?
Mr. Mayor, staff will
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, on the 20th, at 4 o'clock, staff will be bringing the 23-24 budget for approval. You have a copy in front of you, so you can study from now until the 20th. And in addition, we'll be bringing you 2 letters of response to our troubled status and to our REACT score. So we'll be responding to those, and we'll be preparing the letters for the commissioner's approval to return to HUD. We've already produced one of the letters. It's currently in Martha Duron's inbox, waiting for her approval or any edits that need to be done with it, and then it'll be sent back, and we'll get it all prepared and bring it forward for the mayor, for the commissioner's approval.
Okay.
Those are the 2 items that staff will have. Unless, is there something else?
I would, John, if we could talk to Martha, I don't know, if just get the clarification that we did, everything was done the way she asked, and, there's no
Under
45 days and all that, please, so we are basically on the safe side and make sure that everything was done accordingly to their wants and needs, and that we're okay with us signing what we did and when we did it and everything. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Terry and Mr. Huckers, for doing a great job. Any other thing?
I have them on speed dial, so they're
Okay.
used to talking to me.
Well, that said, I move to adjourn this meeting. All in favor?
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.